Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. I am your host, 𝑊𝘐𝘳𝘳𝘠𝑒𝑟𝑚. And today's guest is actually a really great guy. I love what you do. His name is Igho Ekakitie. And he is not only a motivational speaker, but he is a political and human rights activist, a DEI expert, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And also he's the founder of I Go with Igho. So welcome to the show. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Of course. And you know, you do a lot of things. I mean, motivational speaking is wonderful. Political activist, wonderful. Human rights activist, but also DEI expert, which a lot of people are kind of still figuring out what all that means. It's a broad range. But what is I Go with Igho? What is that brand?
All right. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me again. Well, I Go with Igho. It's my own small niche. It's an educational consulting company. It's after my name, I Go with Igho. It came about because of my own story, my experience as an international student here in America. You know, the ups and downs I went through, the negatives and the positive. And I said, you know what, I think I should share my story, start up a company to help prospective international students know the truth about coming to America and experiences you need to go through.
And what country are you originally from?
Nigeria.
Nigeria. So student from Nigeria, I mean, that took courage to come to another country, study at a new school, new culture. I mean, completely different worlds. And now your goal is just to help other students do what you did and give them that courage, that capability, the pathway. And learn, as you said, learn from your mistakes, what the negatives, the positives, what you got wrong, what you got right. And so you help students come abroad, but there's a specific goal that you have. The United Nations came up with these things called the Sustainable Development Goals. And it's just a bunch of, it's a framework to make the world a better place. It's that simple. And you focus on Sustainable Development Goal number 4. Could you explain what that is?
All right. So the SDG goal number 4 is what we call quality education. First of all, I'd like to tell people that education is the right of every child and everyone. And according to international human rights law that guarantees the right to education, the Universal Declaration of Education of Human Rights, adopted in 1948, proclaims that Article 26 that everyone has a right to education. And so for me, it's a big deal because I grew up in a house where one of my parents taught me the importance of education. That education is a weapon that can help you break that shackle of poverty and come on to be a better person.
I'm glad. I mean, there's so much to be said about quality education, and it is the human right, and everybody should have access to the equal amount of education out there.
Absolutely.
Bringing students, and it's not, I believe you bring students from everywhere, not just Nigeria, your home country, but from, Africa or other countries.
Yeah.
Why is that so important to bring them to the U.S.? Why did you find the U.S. to be the place to bring people?
I think first of all, I've always loved the US. Personally, so it's like a bias for me, but I think the US has the best education in the world and the most recognizable, because if you have a US degree, you can officially work in any country in the world. You see now, and the style of learning is different. Experiential learning, hands-on learning. You see what you're learning in the classroom, not just the book reading, but you can have an experience with what you've studied, hands-on by internships. What we call the OPT, the training after you're done with school. It's a training that international students do when they're done with their schooling. 2 years training to have experience in your field. And the US guarantees that, and that's a huge deal. That's a plus for me. And that's why I tell all the students, come and experience it. It's a good experience. You would love it. And you want to, use that experience to better yourself and better your country at the end of the day.
I'm really happy that you mentioned that, if you get an education in the US, you can take it pretty much anywhere in the world. And, being born and raised in the States, I have not had the opportunity to live in another country. I would welcome it, but it just hasn't presented itself. But everyone I've met who's moved to the US from another country, I've heard 2 things frequently. One, the opportunity here is great. You just have to be willing to work for it. Other countries, stupid metrics hold you back. 2, education. A lot of us like to complain about education and it's too expensive, or it's too this, or it's too that. Education in other countries simply isn't available to some people. And I think we need to kind of reflect inward that we actually do have it pretty good here. Yeah, there are faults. Yeah, not everything's perfect. But when you talk to someone who is not born and raised in the United States, you realize we have things that we take for granted that a lot of people don't have. And it's very important that people like you are bringing students abroad to the United States so they have that equal opportunity. And, you know, the work ethic, I mean, first of all, the courage and the strength to even come to another country, different culture, different languages, different everything, and then to drive and work towards bettering yourself. I mean, that is the definition of the American way. I mean, we're all immigrants. My family came from Sweden and Norway and a bunch of other places. I'm a lot of people. But I think it's so important that people kind of comprehend the good that you are doing and providing this education. And could you tell us a little bit more about the I Go with Igho? You know, services, you know, bringing students over the consulting. What kind of consulting, you know, can you offer to people?
Well, I tell people it's a lot to deal with, you know, balancing the company, helping students and you know, working full time, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's very rewarding for me, because for me, when I meet a prospective international student, I ask them, what do you want to do? It's a very important question. Don't just tell me you want to come here and make it overnight, because it will happen. It's a process. And so I have this one-on-one conversation with each student before we start the application. Tell me what your future plans are. I want to see if it aligns with what our goal is, you know, if it aligns with what we can help you with. So I had a one-on-one conversation with prospective students, and I see their intent in the future, and they wanted to come here for real, which is study and have a good education. And so we go ahead from the consultation, we go to application. So we help them with applying for to 5, 6 schools, you know, what they want to do, help them apply for scholarships. And when they're done with that, of course, we help them prepare them for the visa. I tell them that no one in this world can assure you of an American visa. But what we can do is to prepare you, to tell you what our experiences are, to tell you the guidelines according to what immigration law is, and for you to pray to the God you serve, you know, and to do your best at the interview and hopefully get the visa. It's difficult to get the American visa, but what they want to see is honesty and consistency and the truth. So we always tell people, prepare yourself and go and hopefully hope for the best. So
I love that positive messaging. Just, I love to say, pray to the God that you pray to. I mean,
yeah,
open to everybody. And it's a wonderful messaging, is helping students, giving them the guidelines, and you know, kind of paving that way so they understand what they need to do, what forms they have. I mean, the forms have got to be
so many, so many, yeah,
and probably not the easiest thing to fill out either. It was like, you know, subsection A, 5C, what, like, which one do I put in? So that's definitely a service that you help students. But with their consulting and your humanitarian and political activism and DEI, that would be more for like corporations that need to understand how they can better their sustainable goals themselves, right? So, yeah, what kind? Let's just focus on the DEI aspect. When you talk to a company, and they're like, "Listen, you know, we know to be fair to everybody, but how do we measure that? How do we prove that we're doing what we're doing?"
I think the work of DEI has to be in the DNA of the company itself. You know, most companies you see can speak about DEI having 1, 2, 3 people of color, and they feel that's a DEI thing. That's not DEI for me. DEI for me has to be in the everyday activities, how a company relates with the staffs, you know, and how you know, the people feel comfortable working in that place. But it's not about the leadership; it's about the staffs now. Do they feel welcome? Do they feel loved? Do they feel accepted? Do they feel that they belong to the company? Because you have to make sure that your staff, some people you work with, will have a shared dream and a shared hope and a shared belief in what you in the company's vision and mission. That's DEI still for me. Someone that looks like me in the company is awesome. We want to see that. I want to see the diversity of different people in the company, but then the nitty-gritty is, how do they feel about the company? How do they feel about coming to work every day? That's DEI for me still.
So beautifully said, because, you know, a lot of companies in the past would say, we checked the box. You know, we hired 3 Black people. Done. We're done. It's not just that. It's people of different races, different backgrounds, different religions, people with disabilities. I mean, a lot of people seem to forget that, you know, DEI is people with disabilities. And if you're not going out to that wider pool of individuals, you're missing out on a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. And I love the fact that you said welcoming in the company, because that, and I'm so glad you said it, because that really kind of ties it together. That is the key. Everyone should be welcome when they walk through that door every morning for work, or if it's remote, welcome, you know, on your Zoom calls. That is so important, that everyone feels welcome and wanted. Because if you just tick off a box and then ignore that person, or don't give the opportunities to grow and get promoted, that's failing. That's not DEI. And people like you are offering that service as a consultant to explain, I will help you understand what this means. And so let's get into how people find you. What's your website? What's your contact info?
Thank you. Well, my website is www.𝐼𝐭𝐡.org. My social media handle is at Igho Ekakitie. So my first name, my last name together. The company's social media handle, Instagram, Twitter is at 𝐼𝐭𝐡. So IGOWITHIGHO, one word together. And my email is my first name, 𝐖𝐤𝐿𝑒𝑒𝑒@gmail.com. So it's easy to get me. Just combine the two, first name and last name, and of course you see me on social media.
And you know, I actually found you all I did, quite honestly, I was on LinkedIn. I typed in IGHO. IGHO, there you were the first person that popped up. That's easy. Let's connect.
Right. Thank you. I saw that. That was very kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. So guys, please check out I Go with Igho. It's IGHO. Very wonderful services that you offer, also helping students study abroad, which can be scary for young kids. So you're actually kind of parenting them as they transition over to the United States. But check them out. Good work, political activism, humanitarian, and DEI, motivational speaking. A lot of people need that. Sometimes we all need to get a little pepped up once in a while. So please check them out. And I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. Thank you again, Igho. Wonderful conversation. Loving what you do.
Thank you.
You guys take care.